Welcome to Get Organized at Work. I'm your host, Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt, healthcare leader, mom of three, and your go-to guide for ditching the chaos and taking control of your workday. This is the show where we turn overwhelming to-do lists into clear, actionable plans so you can crush your goals and show up as your best self at work and in your life. Whether you're here for strategies to stay ahead or systems to simplify your workday, you're in the right place. Let's get organized, have some fun, and make this year your best year in your career yet. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Get Organized at Work podcast. I'm Kayla. I'm your host. And today we're going to be talking about how to get promoted by getting organized. The real secrets they don't teach you, except for me. I'm going to teach you. So I was on LinkedIn the other day and I found this post. It was called How to Get Promoted, 12 Secrets Your Manager Won't Tell You. My first reaction was like, managers, we need to start telling people these things. Why aren't we telling people these things? But I think it's all tongue in cheek. It was a great graphic of the 12 different things you can do to get promoted that really showcase your work, that show that you're ready for a promotion. So I thought I'm going to take a little spin on that. And I want to share with you my tips for how to get organized to help you get promoted and tie that back to my Get Organized at Work blueprint. So I actually have a Get Organized at Work blueprint course, and it has modules to help you be a proactive leader, how to communicate better, how to create and develop your personal work brand, how to manage your projects, how to delegate effectively, and really how to have that leadership success mindset. So if you are a member of my Get Organized at Work podcast community, the community is free. So if you're not a member, you should definitely check it out. I'll link it below in the show notes or in the description. But if you are a member, I will have a member rate available for you for my blueprint course. So if you're interested, I will be posting that in the community here once this podcast drops. As well as I will be sending a note out to everybody via email. So I will let you know that member rate. If you want to reach out to me and ask questions, let me know. But I'm excited to offer this to you to say thank you for being part of the community and to have you try the course out, give me feedback on it, and let me know what I should be adding. Because once you have access to my course, you'll just continue to have access to it and everything that I update. All right, so let's get down to it. Let's compare this viral image, and I will share this image in the show notes as well, link it for you so you can check it out. But the first topics, or I guess bucket of items this graphic had was around visibility and value. So the tips from the image talked about being visible and solving problems and stepping up. And my blueprint course talks about this in similar ways. We talk about documenting your wins and progress daily, weekly, and having check-ins with yourself and your leader. We talk about owning your calendar and preparing for your week so you're proactive in your thinking, planning, and strategic and strategizing. And we talk about proactive task management and leader standard work. So I just wanted to share how those two images kind of combine, but also talk a little bit about why these things are good things, because we can look at being visible or solving problems or stepping up, and we can also view them in a negative light, right? Like, for example, being visible. Some people are going to see that as being bragging, being narcissistic, being, putting yourself out there maybe when you don't deserve it. And I want to dispel that. You can do this in a bunch of different ways. Personally, as a professional, making yourself visible to leaders who are going to make decisions about your promotions, that's important. If you're out of sight, you're out of mind. So when you're front and center, asking questions, contributing in positive ways, and I'm not talking about being obnoxious, but actually using that curiosity mindset, seriously enjoying the work and considering it, that's a positive thing. You can also bring visibility to your work through graphics and dashboards, sharing your value, as we talk about on this podcast and in the course. I talk about creating some sort of contributions list to show your value. And I talked about that in my last How to Get Promoted episode, which I'll link below as well. If people don't know about what you're doing behind the scenes to add value, to solve problems, then they're not going to realize that, oh, wow, this is work that shows that you're ready for the next step. So creating visibility means you're creating clarity around why you should get that promotion and the value that you bring. Now let's talk about documenting your work. I get a lot of pushback around documenting. Oh, I hate documenting what I'm doing or showing on my leader standard work. It just feels like extra work to document. what I'm already doing. And actually, I just wanted to share that documenting your impact actually builds your promotion case. So we forget all of the little fires and things that we do throughout the day or the meetings that we take because it's just part of our normal. But if we're not living in that normal space, like our leader is not, sitting with you every moment of the day, they don't know about all the things that build up to making the case for your promotion. So if you have something that is easy to look back at, like your leader standard work or some sort of habit tracker or template or contemporary notes from the time, then it's really hard to remember and be like, oh, like, what did I do that helped me, bring this project to the finish line or help these people grow? So documenting your impact weekly, even doing weekly reflections of your biggest wins or lessons learned can really help you build that case when you go to ask your leader for a promotion. Now, I just wanted to share an example of how I tried to document or personally step up before I was given a promotion and kind of give it as an example for you. So I remember in 2017 is when I took on the role as supervisor from technical specialist. At the time, I was feeling really dissatisfied with the growth and development opportunities that my boss was presenting to me. So I realized, well, maybe it's up to me, right? Up to me. I'm in charge of my career to ask for those opportunities. So I went to my leader and I said, hey, I know that one of the big things that you have to do on a regular basis is look at the financials. And I know that in our meetings, you'll bring those up. And I would really like to understand those better to be able to help, make an impact on those financials. Is that something that you might be able to teach me or mentor me on? And she was like, oh my gosh, I would love to have other eyes on this because it is a big lift. And if you understand it, then maybe you can find things we can do that I'm not seeing. Every month, we scheduled a meeting together and she would just go over how she does her process. And shortly after that, I started doing the financials. And eventually, when I was going to be promoted as a manager and interviewing for that job, I was able to say, well, I'm already looking at the monthly budgets and cost accounting like managers are doing because I've been interested in it. I wanted to learn. It was a weak spot of mine. So now I've been doing that for over a year. So my learning curve is a lot shorter. So I just wanted to share an example of how you can maybe see a need that your leader has and step up without it being obnoxious or feeling like you're being a brown nose or anything. It's something they can teach you, help you learn, but you're taking accountability for it and you're taking on that extra, motivation instead of having your boss be like, hey, I really want to delegate this to you. You're saying, hey, I would love to learn. Let me take step up and let you help me and teach me. So I just want to encourage you to stop hiding behind your work or your perfectionism, right? That you don't want your boss to see the little mistakes or the process, but actually show your work. Let them know what your process is, how you work through hard things, your thought process and how you make decisions. It's going to show them that you are ready for promotion because you're able to take something that might be complicated, break it down and streamline it, or find a solution through a really complicated path that's not necessarily written out. So stop hiding behind the fact that you want your dashboard to look perfect, but rather that it's a process and that you're learning from it consistently. All right. So in that section, we talked about visibility and value and showing how to be visible, how to solve problems, and how to step up in a good way. And those are all things that I teach you in the Blueprint course. This next section of, bucket of what these tips showed on this viral image were around relationships and reputation. So I definitely talk a lot about this in the Blueprint course. I have a whole section on creating your work brand. I always talk about how we're one whole human, right? It is hard to switch on and off between work Kayla and home Kayla. So you want to create a leadership presence or what I like to call personal work brand that feels good no matter where you're at, that you don't have to be one person here and one person there. Sure, you might be more professional at work, but it's the same Kayla. I'm the same me. I find that people feel really misaligned when they have to show up and perform at work, but at home, they're a different person. So I know that personal work brand can feel like they're two contradicting things, but your brand is personal to you, even in the professional space. So I just wanted to share that. There are many modules on that about learning your personality, developing your awareness of your default presence, how you are, when you're not thinking about it, creating your hallway brand, and deciding how you show up daily. So in the image, they talk about considering your perception, making sure you're networking. They talk about lifting up your boss and speaking up. And like I said, in my Blueprint course, we talk about our personal work brand, but we also have sections on stakeholder communications and emotional intelligence practices, as well as meeting prep for speaking up with clarity. So when we talk about communication, especially communication with your leader or your boss, you want to learn how to lead with your leader or boss, not around them. And so when we talk about being intentional with communication in the course, we're really teaching you what would a leader or a vice president or your boss, what would they want to know to help them make decisions? How can you bring work to them where they're going to partner with you and elevate you, not necessarily elevating themselves, to find solutions? When you can work really well with your boss, it creates a flow rather than a tension. If your leader is in charge of or has some control over whether or not you'll get promoted, you want to work with them, not against them. You don't want your leader to be your adversary because then they won't want to promote you, right? So you want to figure out how can you lead with them. And we talk about that in the course related to communication and work styles and figuring out what is your default personality? What is your, let's say, Myers-Briggs types? What is your personality? And what are other personalities? And how can you figure out how yours jive, maybe how you're different? And how you can collaborate better. In the course, we also talk about perception is reality in most orgs. So you must manage your perception actively. One of the things that I talk about and I mentioned in just before this is creating your hallway brand. And what I mean by that is if you were to overhear two people at work talking about you, what would you want them to say? And I know this feels weird and maybe a little bit icky because you're like, oh, I really don't want to have to care what other people think. And I really hope people aren't talking about me behind my back. And I just want to say that if people are talking about you, it's usually good. Like people want to share and promote others. And if they aren't talking good about you, then why is that? How can you manage your perception? So it all starts with the words you use, the way you say things, your body language. And it also has to do with how you present yourself, whether it's positive, negative, optimistic, curious, as well as how you look. Of course, we don't want to, be offensive by saying, oh, someone doesn't look the way that they're supposed to look. I really praise people for finding their own style, whether it's clothes or hair or whatever it is. I think that's fine. I think we should be creative and we should express ourselves. And you have to recognize that you do have to look professional, right? You can't show up disheveled, totally a mess every day if you're hoping to get promoted. I also talk about in the course how to speak up strategically in meetings or if you're not comfortable with that, if you're more introverted, how to share your ideas after the meeting in a positive way with your leader. And I think that's really important is that even if you have good ideas, but you don't share them, nobody's going to know. So if you're looking to be promoted, you have to make sure that your ideas are heard and well understood. If you're not saying anything or contributing, people might think that you don't have anything to contribute when in fact you have a lot. So we can use our communication tools. We can use strategies for speaking up after the meeting, or we can use humble inquiry to speak up during meetings and feel comfortable and confident and safe when we're speaking up and giving our ideas. So one tip I want to leave you for this section related to creating perception, networking, working with your boss and speaking up is to track positive feedback from stakeholders as part of your system. So I believe in the course and in my Leader Standard workbook, I talk about keeping some sort of brag list or some sort of like positive folder. Whenever you get positive feedback from stakeholders, your boss's boss, save that. The last time I was promoted, I was able to share with my VP some comments from stakeholders as well as things he'd shared with me to say, like, here's some of the reasons why I feel like people believe that I'm ready for this promotion. And he looked at those and was like, oh, yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. That's great evidence. So it's not bragging in an icky way. It's saving real life feedback from people and reminding your leader, hey, as a reminder, here's the project I work on. Here were the results and here was the feedback. It's as simple as that. All right. The third section was on strategy and intentionality or being intentional. And the tips from the image included being strategic, asking for your own promotion, prioritizing yourself, and learning from others. And so my blueprint course does match with this. We talk about weekly reflection and strategy sessions, having a performance conversation planner or something where you can talk regularly with your leader about your growth development and your performance, and having a growth goal map or quarterly planning of your goals. So the biggest tips here, the biggest takeaways for being strategic as a leader and growing and being promoted is focusing on the right work, not just the urgent work. Promotions don't come from doing everything well, just the right things. So this is something I talk about a lot on this podcast and in the course, is the leader mindset of the fact that people spend too much time on their daily tasks and to-dos without first thinking about the outcome or the vision or the goal. See, especially if we want to be promoted in an organization, our leaders need to know that we're thinking bigger than what's right in front of us, whether that's instead of thinking about the day, thinking about the week, or instead of the week, thinking about the month, or instead of the month, thinking about the years, the long-term strategy, or just getting out of the nitty-gritty of the day-to-day flows and really looking at the overall picture and the purpose of whatever we're working on. What we want to do is make sure that, number one, the work that you're doing in your current role is work only you in your role should be doing, and everything else should be fitting into some other role. And if you also are a leader, you have to make sure that you're growing and developing others and providing opportunities to teach them maybe things that you're doing, give them insight into your world, or sharing a little bit of strategy so they understand the purpose and the why. Leaders often fall into this mode of being task managers and doing all the things and feeling busy, when really it's people that are able to not have all this work that's bogging them down, and they are focusing on the right things that actually get promoted. It's funny, as a manager, when I first was promoted, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now, because my job is to, number one, get results, but through those people and help grow those people. So what about all the work that I was doing before? And what I realized is, as a manager and director and above, you actually get to work on more strategic, high-level visionary projects, as well as projects that fuel your soul and light you up and get you excited. And so in every single role, it will become clear that your day will become full. You will fill your days. And so you have to make sure it's the right work aligned with the goals of your organization and the goals that you set for yourself, and as well as work that lights you up and is the work that only you can do. Otherwise, you'll get stuck and you won't be able to be promoted because you won't have anybody to take that work over. And you might be hanging on to work that maybe doesn't revolve around your role. It might be work that other people should be doing. Now, the other thing we just talked about in that graphic was how to ask for a promotion. And I want to share with you, in the other episode I've done, I've laid out how to actually make the ask. But asking for promotion, I want to share with you, isn't desperate. It's strategic. We all have growth goals. And even if your boss says not right now, or the timing's not right, it doesn't mean you won't ever be promoted. It just lets them know that, hey, they're interested in growing and continuing to move up in the organization. I'll keep them in mind. It's really about visibility, as we said at the beginning. And it also shows that you are really serious about your career. If you go asking for promotion just because you want more money, that's different than saying, hey, I think I add a lot of value to this organization. Here's how I add value. Here's where I want to go. I want to align my compensation with the value that I add. That's a different ask than I just feel like I need more money. So your action tip for this section related to being strategic and intentional is block a quarterly career check-in with yourself. Really reflect, what value am I bringing to the organization? Have those conversations with your leader. Ask them for feedback. Hey, is this as big of an impact as I think it is? What is the impact? Can you help me? Where could I be in the next few years as it relates to being promoted? All right. The final section is the fourth section, and the graphic talked about soft skills and self-management. And I talk a lot about that in the Blueprint course as well. So from the image, it talked about how to raise your emotional intelligence and how to prioritize yourself. And in our Blueprint course, we talk about mindset resets and creating a framework for your leadership mindset, as well as weekly self-coaching prompts to help you prioritize yourself, figure out where you're at with your work, and make sure that you don't burn out. In our course, we support high emotional intelligence and awareness through talking through reflection, planning, creating your personal work brand, becoming aware of how people are perceiving you and how you want to be perceived. And we also talk about how when you are organized, you feel way more confident because you're proactive. You know what's coming. You have more space to kind of sit back, read the room, think about what the strategy is going to be by listening to your boss and really communicating clearly, hey, I need time off, or hey, I have a good idea for the future of the organization, or hey, I noticed that you're feeling this way. How can I help? You're just more available to be in tune with your feelings, I guess. I know that sounds really touchy-feely, but when we are not burnt out or busy or stuck in the weeds, we have more space to consider others and how we're feeling and how that affects our work. We also talk a lot about how our calendar management in the course. And one of the things you truly need to help prioritize yourself, as well as make sure you're in alignment with the work, is creating margin and boundaries. So we talk about creating white space on your calendar, time for you to just think and learn and grow. And we also talk about setting boundaries with your work. When are you going to, stop checking email? When are you actually going to leave for your workday? And how you can track that on your leader standard work. Some of the more soft leadership skills include managing ourselves. And there's this quote I love, and I don't remember where I saw it, but I always share this with my people, is if you can't lead yourself, you are not ready to lead others. So you have to have your habits in check, your awareness in check before you can help others do the same thing. So that's why being in tune with how you're feeling, how you are showing up, if you need time off, if you need re-energize, to be re-energized or motivated with your work, you need to look at it in a different angle. That's so important. So I want to share with you that promotions happen when you're seen, strategic, and self-managed. Your organization system isn't just about being tidy, it's your promotion prep framework. Yes, my friend. So in the Get Organized at Work community, I want you to go ahead and grab the Blueprint course. I'll be posting the member pricing inside the group, and then I'll be sending out emails to members or new members this week and letting you know, thank you so much for being in the community. This is your member price. You don't get promoted by doing more. You get promoted by doing what matters more visibly. So head to the show notes. The link is there, or the description. The link is there for the community and the course, so you can check it out. I want you to be the person who tracks your wins, speaks up in meetings, and helps your boss shine. That's the recipe for getting noticed and getting the recognition you deserve. Your calendar should reflect your promotion goals, not just your job description. I'm so excited for you to be here. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and I will see you inside the community and hopefully inside the Get Organized at Work Blueprint course. See you next week. Bye.